I'm going to give you 10 things that you should know before you start keeping chickens. 2 years ago, I started keeping chickens. Several of my friends started keeping chickens around the same time, and a lot of them actually quit and just said, hey, you know what? Just take my chickens. I don't want to do this anymore. It's too much work. It wasn't worth it for them to keep chickens. And on days like today where it's over 100 degrees, coming out here and doing all of the maintenance and the feeding, the watering, it just wouldn't be worth it, and I would have quit too. Number one, set realistic expectations for how much money you can save by raising your own chickens. It's really not that much, and especially if you consider how much time you have to spend and the initial setup cost. Let's say your initial setup costs about $500, which would be a pretty cheap setup, and you save $2 a dozen. You're going to need to produce 250 dozen eggs before you break even on your startup costs. This is not a way to make money, but it is a way to get really high quality eggs that you just can't get in the store. The second thing I wish everybody would know before they get chickens is that you should prioritize free ranging. If you just keep your chickens in a small area, just a very small run like this, they're going to make this area really messy really fast. And so you're going to have to constantly be changing out the bedding, adding wood chips or whatever you end up doing all the time. It's going to take a ton of maintenance, a ton of work, and you're always going to be fighting sickness and fighting and disease, and their chickens are going to be stressed out. I just wouldn't do it. I'd give them as much space as possible. I have about 20 chickens right now, and I have them in about 2,000 square feet of fenced off area. They have access to all of this all day. The other aspect of free ranging is the fighting that people don't really think too much about. The pecking order is a real thing. Chickens want to establish who's on top and who's on bottom, and they're all sorted out. But if they don't have room to sort that out, they'll really start to hurt each other. If you have a chicken that's getting pecked on so bad that it's losing feathers and starting to bleed, the answer is not to go get one of those back guards that you can buy. It seems ridiculous to me to strap a guard onto a chicken. Go to the source of the problem. The source of the problem is that you don't have enough room for them to get away from each other. And so what you need to do is give them more space to roam around so that when one of them starts picking on another one, he can just run to the other side of the yard and they'll be fine. Imagine it like this. You're going to the park to play with the kids, and on the way there, in the back of that minivan, those kids are cooped up next to each other and they are fighting, they're arguing, they're bickering. Then when you get to the field, you get out to the park, they have all that room. They don't fight anymore. They run around, they're having a good time, they're expressing their kidness. That's the same way with chickens. If you keep them in a really small area, they're going to fight. But if you give them all the room that they need to run around, they're going to have a good time and they're going to be really healthy and they're going to produce the best eggs possible. And I never use any medication, use organic feed without any medicated additives or anything like that, and it works out really great. Stick around to the end because I have a bonus tip for you that everybody needs to know before you get chicken. The third thing I want you to know before you get chickens is how quickly those chickens will destroy ground. So about 10 chickens will level down to nothing, about 100 square feet, in just a matter of a few weeks. So think about that when you're building your run, when you're deciding on how much free range area to give them. This area here, see how bare it is? We can see where the grass line was. That's where the fence was. How bare all of this was. This was just a matter of a couple of months with 20 chickens. I should have moved them quicker and I was busy. I wasn't able to get to it. So they ruined that ground. But chickens will absolutely decimate grass, whatever it may be. 10 chickens, 100 square feet, just like that in a few weeks. So keep that in mind whenever you build their run, how quickly they'll make a mess of things and destroy all living plants in that area. Here's like a 3B for free ranging. Try and include trees or bushes whenever you can, like this apple tree. They love hanging out underneath this thing. It is cool in the summer, protects in the winter time, even provides some apples for them. It's great. They love hanging out underneath these trees. Number 4, I discovered pretty quickly after I got my own chickens, that something that I wish I had known beforehand, before I made a huge mess out of my backyard. I let them have free range to my entire backyard, and that included my porches. They don't care, dirt or sidewalk. They will go to the bathroom wherever they can find a spot, and if that's your sidewalk, so be it, and it stains. I had to use a pressure washer to try and get all of that off. And on top of that, of course, my kids are in that area, and my kids like to run around barefoot. I don't know about yours, but I don't want my kids running barefoot through chicken poop. The salmonella, the disease, disgusting. I closed them off and limited their free range. It was semi-free range. Number 5 is automate everything. I have talked about this extensively on my channel, And I really mean it. If you don't automate everything with your chicken coop and you're just doing backyard chickens, this is not your full-time job, you're just not going to make it. I mean, so many of my friends are like, it's just too much work. I'm like, too much work? I spend like 5 minutes a week taking care of my chickens, uh, filling up their feeder, topping off their water, and adding some bedding to my system. That's it. I mean, you go get chicken eggs, but I mean, that's just a couple of minutes a day. If you're doing more than that, you're working too hard. So if you're going to make a chicken feeder, get a 13-gallon trash can and add some of those PVC chicken feeders on there. I'll put a link in the description below for those. It's super easy to make. Don't get a 5-gallon bucket. Get a 13-gallon bucket that holds 50 pounds of food. You'll refill it maybe once or twice a month, depending on how many chickens you have. I have 20 chickens, so I do it about once a week. It's just so much less work. Same thing with the waterer. Get a 20-gallon trash can. Don't get a 5-gallon barrel. Get a 20-gallon barrel, and then use these nipple waters. They're great. Look at this. The chickens love hanging out under here. This is where my waterer comes down, and you can see, look, got the hey girly. Yeah, see, that's nice. And then it drips down and it cools off the ground under here. They like to just hang out here and stay cool. It's over 100 degrees. You can see she's hot. That's why her mouth's open like that. And she just can enjoy that water. And I've got 20 gallons. It lasts at least a week, if not way longer, depending on how hot it is. And then the door. You got to have an automatic door. Of course, I recommend the Run Chicken door. That's my favorite one. I think it works really great. There's a lot of other really good ones out there, I'm sure. If you use the link in my description to buy one, you get like 15% off. Plus, right now, I think they're $109 on their website if you buy direct. So you can get the whole thing for under $100 with that coupon in the discount code in the description. So check that out if you want one of these. But if you're coming out every day to open and close your door, you're wasting way too much time. Just don't do it. You can't go on vacation. You got to get a sitter. It's not worth it. Get an automatic door. Look, I got a security camera in case I ever want to check on them. Get a security camera. I have a solar powered one in the description. Check that thing out if you don't have power coming out to your chicken coop. If you just have within Wi-Fi range, the security camera will work great for you. All right, number 6 that I want everybody to know before you get chickens is picking the right breed is vital. It is so important that you get the right breed. All the chicken breeds are very, very different. And so you really need to do your research and figure out what's going to work for you in your area and what you're trying to accomplish. Obviously, the number of eggs per year is vital, right? 250 eggs minimum is what I really try to go for. Otherwise, it's just a pet. It's not an egg producer. There's other things to consider besides just eggs per year. Different breeds have different temperaments, so you really want to look into that. Are my kids going to be around them a lot? You're going to want a really docile kind of chicken. Are there a lot of predators and you don't have kids? Maybe one that's more aggressive and can defend itself. I really like the barred rocks. They're really good layers, but they're also really kind. I have kids, and so that's my number one concern, is are they nice to the kids? Another thing to consider is how prone are they to escape? Different types of breeds want to escape and explore than other breeds. If you're not really concerned with keeping them in a small area, like I'm in a neighborhood, I have to keep my chickens confined. I had a Delaware lightest, and it wanted to run all the time. It would jump over any fence. It would go to my neighbors' houses. It was an escape artist, and I just couldn't keep him contained. That's not the type of breed for me. Whereas a barred rock, they just want to stay home. I mean, I could pretty much remove the fence, and they're just going to stay close to their coop for the most part. They don't really want to go explore. Another thing is camouflage. How well do they blend into your environment? A lot of you might have aerial predators, hawks and things like that, that will come in and pick off a chicken. But if they blend into the grass, they blend into the trees and the bushes really well, they're less likely to get picked off by an aerial predator. So that may be a consideration, is how good do they camouflage to your environment. The 7th thing I want you to know is that chickens will eat all of your table scraps. They love table scraps. They will eat basically anything. They love it. Here you go, chickens. They will eat pretty much anything. There's a few things they can't have, onions, citrus, things like that. But for the most part, they can have just about everything you eat. Now, the stuff that they can't eat, don't worry too much about it. They pretty much will pick around it. They're smarter than you think when it comes to what they can and cannot eat. So just throw them just about everything you eat, and they'll be fine. It'll actually produce higher quality eggs because they'll have a more varied diet. I've even fed them the chicken carcasses after I've had a whole roast chicken. I'll throw that out here, and they actually really like it. The eighth thing you should be aware of before you get chickens is that chickens will eat their own eggs. Not the silkies, man, they are the best moms. But I tell you what, there's a lot of breeds that once they find out there's a delicious yolk inside of here, they will break it and eat it. So you want to be careful to make sure that you have plenty of nesting boxes for them to nest in, because if you get too many eggs in one box, once they start stacking up on top of each other, they can accidentally break one. And once it's accidentally broken and they find out, oh yeah, there's food in there, game over. They will keep doing that. And then you have to go through this whole thing with rocks and trying to break them of that habit, and it can be difficult. So don't ever let them find out. Have plenty of nesting boxes. About one nesting box per 4 chickens is about right. I have 5 nesting boxes for my 20 chickens, and we're doing pretty good. Also, you want to make sure your bedding is soft enough and you have enough of it so that it's cushioned. Again, if it's just too hard, they lay the egg and they crack it, they sit on it weird or whatever, it can be game over. You can never have enough nesting boxes, really. I mean, the worst case scenarios, they just don't use them. That's not a problem. Number 9 is really important. You start to become attached to these chickens, and what happens is after about 2 to 3 years, they slow down production significantly, and they lay fewer and fewer eggs. But they live to be 5 to 10 years old, which means for about 7 years, they're producing fewer and fewer eggs, and they just don't become profitable or worthwhile, financially speaking, to have. So what do you do with those chickens? If you're not prepared to cull your chickens, I mean, after a few years, be prepared to pay for expensive eggs pretty much. They're going to slow down significantly, have more health problems as they get older. So really count the cost. Are you willing to the chickens to get profitable eggs, or are you willing to pay for really expensive eggs later on in life? Number 10, most roosters are really mean. Now, mean isn't really the right term. They're more protective of their hens, and they just want to keep them safe. But what that also means is that they're willing to attack people, other animals, to keep their hens safe. Here's Duke, and he is a great rooster. He's really actually quite nice. We had another Buff Orpington before him, and that guy, he was mean, and he went straight after my 2-year-old daughter while I was standing there, and we had to get rid of him, unfortunately. There's a lot you can do to keep your roosters nice. Treat them well, handle them a lot when they're young, and you have a better chance of turning out nice towards people. Don't mistreat them and all that kind of thing. Be careful with the kids around them. But they can go from nice to mean very, very quickly. And so keep an eye on them. Don't trust them around small children. A full-grown rooster can take down a 2 or 3-year-old very easily and do a lot of damage with the spurs they have on the back of their legs. You want to be really careful around roosters. Know that they're protective. That's their natural desire, is to protect the hens. And frankly, you're the enemy to them. So be really careful with roosters. Try and find one that's nice. Handle it a lot when it's young. But if it turns mean, you got to get rid of it, and you got to get rid of it fast, because it doesn't get back nice again. The other thing is never turn your back on a rooster. Even nice ones, you got to keep an eye on them, because if you turn your back, they'll see that as an opportunity to attack, and they may come after you. So be careful. I don't trust any roosters. Even ours, he's super nice, does a great job. I love having him around, but I still don't trust him. Quick bonus tip, chicken math is a real thing. You're like, what are you talking about? Chicken math means that you go to the Tractor Supply and you buy these 5 cute little chicks, and you bring them home and you get them in your little bitty coop, and then you realize, man, I really like these chicks and they're really cool, and then they start producing eggs. Like, I just want a few more. And you go out and you get a few more, and you get a few more, and you're like, oh, I want to try a different breed. I want to try, yeah. And all of a sudden you find out, oh, I have 15 chickens in a coop that I built for 5 chickens. And suddenly you're overcrowded and you don't know what to do with them. So I want to just tell you ahead of time, before you get chickens, plan for like 3 times what you think you want. Chicken math's a real thing. Keeping chickens is so fun. I recommend it. I love it. I love the eggs. I love the interactions with them as kind of a pet. It's a great experience. I recommend it for anybody, but keep in mind, you're going to want more. So factor that in when you first start getting chickens.